All right, everybody, we are doing it. Trump versus Obama. We are going to go back in our time machine and break down this election if it actually happened in 2012. Right now, there's some buzz. Trump is teasing about running for a third term, and people are saying if Trump runs for a third term, well, then Obama should be able to run for a third term and what that would look like in 2028. But today, we're going to go back in time in 2012 and analyze using the numbers. And 2028 video and today's political climate versus 2012's. We will do a 2028 video at some point just because that is kind of a fun little game. But of course, I don't think either of them will be the candidates. Should be impossible, right? But let's start with some ground rules for the 2012. Again, using this because both were technically eligible. Obama, of course, ran for president in 2012. He was running as the incumbent for his second term. And Trump was eligible. He could have ran in 2012. He decided not to. What are we going to do with the third-party votes? Gary Johnson and Jill Stein had a big effect on the election in 2016 with as far as Trump and Hillary's votes. Gary Johnson, a former Republican governor in New Mexico, I think it's safe to say about 70% of his supporters would have went for Trump or no vote. I say 70% because, again, him being a former Republican, but he also had some drug policies that might have been against some conservative or Republican values. So I'd say only about 70% of those people were probably Trump or no vote people. And then let's say about half of them go for Trump, right? So for example, if there was 100 voters that voted for Gary Johnson, let's say 70% of them, 70 of them would be Trump people. Then you would cut that in half again to 35. That means out of those 100, let's say 35 went to Trump. And we would add those on to totals in 2012 when we break down the numbers. Same thing goes with Jill Stein. 90% of the supporters. Jill Stein was a Democrat longer than she's been a Green Party candidate. Green Party definitely skews left. And the Jill Stein campaign even came out and said on the record, we are trying to get those disenchanted Bernie Sanders voters. So this 90% feels right as far as those being Hillary or left-leaning or no voters. And again, we'd go 50% of that vote going towards Obama, right? So again, same example. If you had 100 votes, 90 of them would go. 50% of that is 45. So 45 would go to the total for Obama. That's how we'll do the breakdown. And then, of course, this is purely looking at the numbers. Every race is different. How would Obama have done in debate appearances against Trump? What would that campaign have looked like? But we're purely going to break down the numbers and evaluate those. And without further ado, let's get right into this. So we have to start here with 2012, with Obama versus Romney. First, looking at this, voter turnout down a little bit, and we can see a pretty healthy margin of victory for Obama, 51% to 47% in the popular vote, 65.9 million votes to 60.9 million, about 5 million vote difference, 332 electoral votes to 206, so a pretty good win there for Obama, and as we can see, plenty of states covered here. Doesn't really look close, and Obama is so popular and was so popular that I started to think, is this video even worth it, right? Would Obama have just blew Trump out of the water in 2012? Let's get the bigger picture, though. 2008. This is what's interesting to me. This is what makes me think this is worthwhile. As you can see, quite a shellacking here by the former President Obama. 365 electoral votes to 173. We've had very close elections with Trump. Talking about 365 electoral votes has never been on the table. I mean, for example, Indiana being blue. When's the last time you saw that? It was 2008. North Carolina goes blue. This was a big time win. 10 million more votes, 7% win in the popular vote. Obama with a major, major victory. So then you start to think, how could Trump ever handle Obama or ever do anything close to him in an election? Here's the interesting part, though. Pay attention to this number. 69.49 million votes in 2008 for Obama. Very popular. Maybe McCain was a weak candidate, whatever you want to say. 69.49. 2012, 65.91. Loses 3.5 million votes in 2012. Actually got a little bit less popular. Voter turnout went down. Got a little bit less popular. Extremely interesting. Romney, 60.9, gained about a good 1 million votes. So a difference of about 4.5 million vote swing. And that was able to only grab for Romney, Indiana and North Carolina back to lose only 332 to 206. But here's what's so interesting. Remember this number, 65.91. In 2016, Hillary Clinton in a losing effort, voter turnout up, but Hillary Clinton in a losing effort gets 48% of the vote. Of course, she won the popular vote. Everyone knows that. But lost 304 to 227. We have some unpledged delegates here. They've since revamped the system. But as you can see, here's who they went to here. But it doesn't really matter for these purposes. 304 to 227. Look at this number. 65.853514. Hillary Clinton got about 60,000 less votes than Obama in 2012. And she lost. Obama won. Look at Romney's number, 60.933 to Trump's 62.984, a cold clean 2 million more votes. So if you go based off the numbers with Obama getting close to Hillary's margin and Trump getting 2 million more than Romney, you can see how just purely looking at the numbers, hey, this might matter. This might actually be close in 2012. And so that's why we want to look at this today to see how the breakdown would have went. Of course, it depends where the votes are, though, right? In our system, we don't go off the popular vote. We go off the Electoral College. So if Trump gained a very large amount of votes in California and Texas, and California still went blue and Texas just continued to go red, it wouldn't really matter. But where were they scattered across these important states? So if we look at 2016, what happened was, if we go to the results by state, scroll down here, the reason Trump won was he was able to flip 6 states: Florida, Iowa, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. So 6 total states, and then Maine's 2nd congressional district. That was able to flip Romney's total of 206 to Trump's total of 304. So we have to look at the voter turnout there and compare the numbers if we want to see how Obama and Trump would have fared in that election in 2012. Let's dive right in. We have our first data right here. We will start with the state of Florida. Pay attention here. Obama won this. I couldn't believe how close Florida was. I thought he won it by a more convincing margin, but I guess it makes sense that Florida was starting to trend red. Of course, it's went for Trump 3 times. 50.01% to 49.13%. If you remember watching back in 2012 when they called this for Obama, kind of felt like the lights went off for Romney's campaign. But let's compare here. 4.237 million votes for Obama won the state of Florida. To Romney's 4.163, but that's not the number we're paying attention to. Let's pay attention to this number, 4.237 for Obama. Let's now go to Trump, 4.617. So this is where it gets interesting, folks. Clinton actually grabbed more votes than Obama, 4.5 to 4.2, and still lost because Trump had 4.6. Going purely by the numbers there, we can say with pretty good confidence, Trump, this is, of course I can't change this name of Romney to Trump, but this is the 2012 interactive map. So just pretend that's Trump or red or whatever you want to do for your sake. Let's put Florida to red. Still doesn't change a whole lot. Obama with 300 electoral votes, but let's keep digging. Let's now go to the next state we have here. Maine's 2nd congressional district. We can do this one. 177,000 votes for Obama. And of course, all these blue, Obama won all these. 177,000 votes for Obama. Let's see how 2016 fared with Trump. 181,000 votes for Trump. So narrowly escaping that one. We also have Gary Johnson having quite a bit of influence there and a good bit more than Stein. So if we calculated this, roughly we could say 19,510, doing the quick math here, times 70%. That's about 13.6 votes. Divide that by 2, again, which was our ground rules. That's about 6,800 votes. Add that on to Trump's total if you want. We don't really need to do Stein's because it's significantly less than Johnson's. It's not like Stein would have given Obama the edge. But Maine's 2nd congressional district, purely off the numbers, is going to go to Trump, narrowly, about 180 in the mid 180,000s to Obama's 177,000. Again, purely off the numbers. So let's go ahead. We can't change this. Okay, they have it all for going for Obama here, but we can just remember in our head, hey, 236 Trump, 302 Obama. Sure. 2012, let's keep going. Ohio is our next state. Obama winning it with 2.8 million votes. It used to be that if Republicans got Ohio, it meant they won. That has since changed. Trump got it in 2020. It's become a Republican stronghold the last 3 elections, but it used to be quite the swing state. 2.827 million for Obama. Let's see how Trump fared in 2016. And down here, 2.841. You'd also get a little bit of a kicker from Johnson's 3.17. That's very tight. But as we can see, another state going for Trump that improves his total to 253, 285, 254, 284, being extremely technical. So we're starting to get closer. We're starting to see how things would have fared here. I want to pause and bring up something that I thought was interesting. Let's go away from the general election to Trump versus Romney comparison. I was shocked at this. So here's the 2012 Republican Party presidential primaries. Romney dominated in this. I mean, look at the map. The orange is Romney, dominated 52% of the votes. I thought Trump dominated too, and I thought he would have fared better than Romney in these primary. Trump was less. So a little bit interesting, 45 to 52, a little bit interesting when we're talking about how Trump would have done versus Romney. Did Trump get a lot better with Democrats and independents than Romney did, and that's why he was able to win? Or would some of this support be lacking for Trump in a general election because he wouldn't have even got the same Republican support as Romney? Something very interesting to keep in mind as we keep digging through here. But let's continue, shall we? 2012, we are on Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania here, 2.990274 for Obama. Nice comfortable win there, 52 to 46.5. Let's check in with what Trump got in 2016, 2.970733. Very, very tight, folks, if Obama and Trump went against each other in 2012. Very tight. Looks like Obama with the edge there. Let's keep it blue. Let's keep it blue. Let's give an updated. There we go. Keeping Pennsylvania blue. Slight edge for President Obama. Getting very interesting here. Wisconsin, 1.620 votes for Obama. Trump, 1.4. Not really close. Even these votes with Johnson don't really matter. I mean, just for the heck of it, I will check. 106,674 times 70%. 74,000. Divide that by 2. 37,000. You add that to the total. It's still not enough to surpass Obama. So Obama stays in a commanding lead. And as we can see, the blue wall is almost fully formed here. Let's look at our next state. We do have Iowa next. 822,544 votes for Obama. Let's see what Trump got. He got 800,000. Okay. Let's look though. Let's look at the third party, how that could have affected. Let's take our 59,186 times 70%. That equals 41,430. And let's divide that by 2. That's 20,715. So super, super, super close again. But we have to give the edge to President Obama. Plus, he would have got a little bit of Stein's support. Iowa stays in the blue column. Michigan will tell us a lot. Let's check out Michigan. So right now, it is technically 254 to 284. So if Romney got that red, it'd be 270 to 268. Because remember, Maine is, put that back to red, Maine is technically one vote for Trump. I might have misspoke there. It's technically 254 to 284. Obama versus Trump. Let's see what Michigan has to offer here. 2.564 for Obama in 2012. Let's compare with Trump when he won it. 2.279. Not going to do it, folks, even with Johnson's votes. Not going to do it. Not going to be particularly close. It looks like President Obama in Michigan. Wow. But let's save something very interesting and where the video gets controversial or where the video kind of hits its climax here. Let's reevaluate Pennsylvania, right? 2.990 Obama. 2.970. And we're talking about 20,000 votes. Look at what the influence is here with Johnson and Stein. Let's do Stein first. Let's see, actually, if we can just pull up. Can we pull this up? Beautiful. Let's pull up the calculator app. Bear with me here. 46,271 times 90%. That's 41,643. Divide by 2, our ground rules we've been doing the whole time. That's 20,821. So that's going to be plus 2.990. What was Obama at exactly again? 2.990274. 0274. Going to give Obama a grand total of 3,011,000. 3,011,000. Let's evaluate Trump now. I'm going to type that over here for my sake so I can remember. 311,095. Got it. I've got it here. Okay. 3 million votes for Obama total in Pennsylvania, right? With taking in our Stein ground rules. Let's now look at Gary Johnson. This will be extremely interesting. Remember we said 70% of his votes would be red leaning. Okay, so let's make sure we get this right. 146,715 votes. Got a lot of votes in Pennsylvania. Times 70% equals 102,700. Divide this by 2. 51,350.25 plus Trump's total here of 2,970,733. I got that right. Wow. 3,022,083.25. Obviously, we'd have a whole vote. Minus Obama's 3,011,095. Trump winning Pennsylvania by 10,988 votes. If we were getting super technical and our numbers were 100% correct, we'd actually have to put this in Trump's camp, and the final tally would be 274 to 264. I think this is controversial. I think it's hard to believe as a person who was alive and watching the politics grand scheme of things throughout the Trump administration, throughout the Obama administration and the campaigns. But if you just look at the numbers, it makes a little bit of sense that Trump would have a fighting chance after getting 2 million more votes than Romney and winning against Hillary when she only had 62,000 less votes than Obama here. It makes a little bit of sense. And when you look at the states that Trump flipped, it makes even more sense. The most accurate map I think you're going to see is something that looks like this, with, of course, Maine's district that we can't change, or something like this. I think anyone that tells you Trump wouldn't win Florida, Ohio is wrong. I think anyone that tells you Obama wouldn't win Wisconsin or Michigan is wrong. It comes down to Pennsylvania, just like it always comes down to Pennsylvania, apparently. And by our numbers, by our assumptions, and doing our best of trying to predict a Johnson-Stein voter who would come out, all those things, it's Trump narrowly winning. But the main lesson here of 2012 is that this would be an extremely tight race. And with that, I thank you for watching. I thank you for tuning in. Go check out my other videos, and I'll do historical videos. I'll do prediction videos. I'll talk about what went wrong and what went right for a particular party. So there's more of that all on the channel. There will be another video out in the meantime, soon, on 2028 and its current political climate. Because as you can see here, let's look at an exit poll from 2016 to close out the video. The Hispanic population, 66% blue. Fast forward to 2024, and we have got where is Hispanic at? We have got where's my race? 46% of the population going red to 51% blue. So times have changed. So doing it in 2028 would be a little bit different. We could actually go in by states and some of the demographics and do it. But for this 2012 purposes, we wanted to go strictly by the numbers. And what we saw here is it'd be a very tight race with maybe even an edge to Donald Trump. But again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. And have a great day, everyone.